Okay, for this one, if you want to find better by, you know you can't do it if the quantity isn't the same. So 20 tea bags plus the 50%, I'm hoping you know that there would actually be 30 tea bags there for 180, 40 for £2.60. What am I going to do then? Well, start with offer A, 30 tea bags, you get 1 mark for that, for £1.80. Divide by 30 I would. I'll do £1.80 divided by 30, which is 6p per tea bag. There are other ways, but that's the easiest way to do it. You could have made them 120, maybe. All right then, offer B, I've done the same thing. I've divided by 40 this time, and I found out this is 0.065. So it's only half a penny more, but it is a difference per tea bag. So which one is the best value for money? Offer A. Like I said, you could have done it other ways, guys. Okay. Okay, guys, pictogram, make it easier for yourself. 100 is in each box, so 100, 200, 300, 350. In this one, 250. In this one, 400. And in this one, 300. Okay. Right then, what does it say here? The approximate range of numbers of pairs sold each month. So the range is the highest, take away the lowest. The gap between them is 150. Okay, 1 mark for that. The next one says the total number of trainers sold from January to April is 1,300. What is the mean number? So if we want to find the mean, we add them all up, which we've already done, and we divide by total amount there, but it's per month. So how many months was there? 4 months. 1, 2, 3, 4. So type that in your calculator, 325. Okay guys, this one here says that it is drawn to scale. So if it is drawn to scale, you are going to need your ruler. Write down the approximate length of AB. So the first thing you'll have to do is measure it, and as you can see, it is 7 centimeters. Obviously on yours it might be slightly different if it's been printed down. Now this scale means 1 centimeter is equivalent to 8 centimeters in real life. Well, I've just measured it as 7 centimeters, so I need to do 7 times 8. So 7 times 8 is going to give me 56 centimeters. So that's actually how long the bar is, but the question says meters. 56 centimeters is just less than half. So I divide by 100, 0.56 meters. Obviously you may have something slightly different. As long as your method's correct, then that's fine, because I may have printed your papers smaller. Therefore, measure slightly different. Okay, is AE parallel to BD? Well, the only way you can check this is, so is this line here parallel to this line here, is by measuring angles. Now, by here, I can see a Z angle, or you may have seen an interior angle here. Doesn't really matter. If it's a Z angle, these two have got to be the same. If it's an interior angle, these two have got to add to 180. Because it's drawn to scale, you can use your protractor. If I measure this angle here is 60 degrees, so that's why I've written that. So that means this one has to be 60 degrees for it to work, and as you can see, it is. Or, I did say inside they've got to add to 120, so if I measure the one inside it, is this one inside 120? Yeah, it is, 120. Okay, so 1 mark if you've measured and proved it, but your other mark is for actually saying your reasons. So there's loads of reasons written here. I'd probably say that they're either alternate, corresponding, or you could say co-interior. Okay, a few different ways to do it, guys, but not a bad question. All right, so let's get our heads around this. An annual payment is £320 for every single meter length of the boat. This one is a 6 monthly payment. This one is a monthly payment, okay? So it's almost like they come in, there's your threes, all right? Then there's a bit of added information down here. 20% is added on top for VAT. It does say exclusive. That means they haven't done it yet. So you'd have to work out how much it's going to cost first, then add the 20% on. All charges are for per meter, which is what I explained about this bit. But any part meter is charged as a complete meter. So if it's slightly over, then you've got to assume it's a full meter. And the last bit, combinations of the periods are allowed. For example, you could have 7 months by paying for a 6 monthly payment and then 1 on its own. All right, let's get going. Including VAT, how much is monthly? So monthly, I look here, monthly, it's 40 for every meter, £40. But this is a 10 meter boat, so that's 40 times 10, which is 400. And then I've got to add on, because it says including VAT, so 20%, I'm going to add that on, divide by 10 and double it, or times by 0.2, or 20 over 100, loads of ways. Whichever way you do it, add on the 20%, 480. Okay, next question, excluding VAT, a bit nicer, but you've got to notice 8.92 is actually going to be 9 meters boat you're going to be paying for. because you've got to pay for anything above it and add it. You've got to round it up to a whole meter. It's a 6 monthly charge, so we go to 6 monthly. It's £180 for every single £180 for every single meter. So I need to do 180 times by 9 meters. Okay, 180 times 9, £1,620. Okay. Right, the next question, I need all of this information to help me. So let's have a little look. Just fold this. All right. Question says, you will be assessed on your quality of communication. So I'm hoping you know, lovely, let's get an extra 2 marks. Right, Lars owns a 9.3 meter boat. So straight away you should now be thinking 10 meters is what you're charging. He wants to keep his boat for 11 months. Okay, that's really important. Which option should he choose? You must consider all possibilities. So let's go with the obvious one first. Option 1, an annual payment. So it's 10 meters. So if I stick to the annual by here, it's going to be 10 times 320, 10 times 320, but then I got to add on 20%. Again, remember 20%, you can write 20 over 100 on a calculator and multiply them. Loads of ways. I'm hoping you know how to do that. That would give you £3,840. Okay, so that's option 1. The next option is going to be for 11 monthly payments. That's the one I'm going to do, because I think that's the more obvious one you lot would do. You lot being everybody watching this video. So it's going to be 40 times, 40 first times by the length, 40 times 10, because it's 10 meters. But be careful, you then have to multiply by 11 because there's 11 months before you add the VAT on. So the total cost of the length of it with the meters and the 11 months then is 4,400, and then you've got to add on 20%, which is going to be 880. So the total of this one is 5,280, quite a bit more. So we're not going to go for that option. Now there is actually one more option. The last one is 6 months followed by 5 monthly payments. So what have I done here? Well, where's my 180 come from? Well, we know that it is £180 for every meter for the 6 months. So I've done 180 times 10 first. That's that bit. And then this bit, 10 times 40, is because it's 10 meters and there's £40 for, £40 for every meter. So 10 times 40, but then I've actually got to multiply it by 5 because there's obviously 5 individual months to get me up to the 11. Once I've done all that and added them up, I can then add on the VAT. So it's 1,800 and 2,000. Okay, I add them two together, gives me 3,800, but now I've got to add that VAT on. So I've got to add 20% on again, which is going to give me an answer of 4,560. Okay. Right then, now I've done that, I've considered all 3. There's no options left. So which one is the best one for your final couple of marks, or your final mark? Okay, so that's going to get you to 5 marks, all of that. Your 6th mark is obviously, that's the annual fee. Well, that would make sense, otherwise you wouldn't offer an annual fee. But you have to do all of these. Okay, you must consider all options. The last question says, what is the greatest saving? Well, providing you've got the most expensive one here and the cheapest, the greatest saving is if you subtract the 2. And it's going to give you an answer of 1,440 for an extra mark. Okay, quite nice that. 9 marks in total, guys. Okay, so we've got our information here. It takes 0 to 5 hours for this container to fill up and then empty. Okay, what is the volume of the liquid of 2.5 hours? So 2.5 hours is here, in between 2 and 3. I go up and I go across, but be careful. You know, in between 4 and 6 is 5. So if that's 5 there, in between 5 and 6 would have to be 5.5, okay? Be really careful with your scale, guys. Never mess up your scale. Take your time. How long does it take to fill the container? But find this in minutes. So, half fill. Well, when it's full it's 6, half full is 3. So that's why I've gone here to 3. I go across and down. Now, as you can see, that is 6 little squares across. But 1 hour is the same as 60 mins. So if 10 squares is equal to 60 minutes, each little square's got to be 6, guys. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60. So that there falls on 36 minutes. So if you've written 0.6 hours or 6 out of 10, you get a mark. But obviously you're 36 minutes because it asks for the answer in minutes for your second mark. Okay, next one. The container is empty at 8:36. At what time is the container empty? Between 9 AM and 9 PM. So what you need to know is, if we look here, when it's empty, to the point where it fills and then becomes empty again, it takes exactly 5 hours. So if it starts off empty at 8:36, all I got to do is add on 5 hours. So I'll add on 5 hours here, 13:36, that's your first mark. If I add on another 5 hours to the 13, obviously takes me up to 1800 hours, which is 6:36 in the evening. Okay, if you've written 6:36, you have to write PM. All right, guys. And then obviously the next time it'd be empty would be after 9 PM, so you don't need the other one. So we've got to have these two though. Okay, guys, for this last one, why have I ticked this one? Well, if I look at it really quickly, okay, this says that it starts to go quickly, then it starts to slow down, then it goes to a constant rate. So if we read through these, container fills at a constant rate. Well, no, because it's not a perfect straight diagonal line. That is a constant rate. That clearly isn't. Container fills at a constant rate to start with, then slows down. Well, it kind of does, but is that constant, or is it increasing, then slowing? So that's why I'm not happy with that one. After starting to fill, the rate at which a container fills up increases. Well, if it increases, this would have to get steeper, so that can't be true. That's why this one is, because it fills quickly, then slows down to a constant rate. That is why that one is true. And the last one is not possible to tell. Well, it is possible to tell with the rate of it, because you can see it does go quick, starts to slow, then goes to the constant rate. All right then, guys. If you're ever given a formula like so, just remember that touching means timesing. So 9 means 9 times whatever the Celsius is. Then you add 160, and then that would equal to 5 times whatever the Fahrenheit is. So if we're completing this statement, 10 degrees is the same as 50. Where have I got 50 from? Well, 10 degrees Celsius, I've got to start by doing 9 times 10. Then add the 160, sorry. 9 times 10, add the 160 gives me 250. 1 mark for that, because you've got to be really careful. This is 5Fs, so 5Fs, divide 250 by 5. It's going to take you to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, next one. Make C the subject. All right, well, to make C the subject, it's just like solving an equation. So if you want to get C on its own, the first thing you'd have to do is get rid of the 160. And the only way you can get rid of the 160 is if you subtract it. So that's why I subtracted from the 5F. Now I need to get rid of the 9. If this means 9 times 9, you must do the opposite. So what's the opposite to times by 9? Dividing by 9. So I divide all of this by 9. If you've written divide by 9 here, then you have to have this in brackets, okay? If you haven't written it underneath. 1 mark if you've written take away 160, and then the second for the final answer. Okay, for this one, guys, because it's not drawn to scale, what I want you to try and remember is north lines are always parallel lines. So if that's 73, inside it have to add to 180, or if that's 73, that has to be 73, okay? So a few different ways you could do it. If this is 73, you know this is 107. If that's 42, you know that there is 138, okay? We may not need those pieces of information, but it's just to get your head around it. Right, the question says, the bearing of Canterville from Brentor. So we're going from Brentor, okay? So the bearing of here from here. The bearing of Canterville from Brentor. Okay, well, nice. I'm not quite sure why they've done that there. The bearing of Canterville from here is got to be that angle, because you always measure from north, you always measure clockwise, and there's always 3 digits in your answer. So the answer is actually 073. Okay, bearing of Canterville from Brentor. That's where you start. Next one, write down the bearing of Abermore from Brentor. So now we need all of this, because we're going from here. So the only way I can find this is if I remove this 42-degree angle, because all of the remainder of it, oh sorry, can't see it. Because we want to find this from here. If this bit here is 42, we need all of this angle, because angles you always go clockwise. So 360 take away 42. 360 take away 42, because it's a full circle, would leave you with the answer of 318 degrees. Okay, for this one here, we've got to draw a 30-degree angle, which is tricky. So I'm going to start just by showing you it, because I've already done it below. It's already been done. I'd rather just show you it from scratch. All right, if I want to draw a 30-degree angle, the first thing I want to do, because I know the angle's got to be this way, is I'm just going to extend my line. I'm going to go to my point here, I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to imagine I'm drawing a equilateral triangle, which is quite tricky. So to draw an equilateral triangle, all I would do is, from my line that I've just extended, draw a curve. So I now know that from this point, that distance is always going to be the same. I'm going to go to here and do exactly the same thing, and it should meet up with my circle there. And it does. Okay, so now by doing that, what you can see, by doing that, that point is the same distance from there, that point is the same distance from there, that point is the same distance from there. That will actually draw me a perfect, I'm going to draw it in just so you can see it, that would draw me a perfect equilateral triangle. If the distance is the same from each line, then that means every angle is going to be the same. And that means every single angle inside here is now 60. But we only need a 30-degree angle going this way. So now I have a 60-degree angle. I now need to split this. So to split this, I'm going to make my compass a little bit smaller. I need to do an angle bisector. And to do an angle bisector, I draw two arcs on the two lines I want to split. On the two lines, sorry, of the angle I want to split. So that's one there, one there. Okay, try and do it so you can see. As you can see, I've got one there and one there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two new points and I'm going to not adjust my... So it's a little bit tricky because I've got arcs everywhere now. I'm not going to adjust my compass. I'm going to draw an arc there. And then I'm going to go to the other point and draw an arc. And where those two lines meet, I'm going to draw a straight line to it. And that has now split my 60-degree angle perfectly. So that angle there would be 30 degrees, okay? You have to have all these on there to help you. Quite a tricky one though, but always worth having a go. All right then guys, for this one, as you can see, what I've done is to make it a bit easier, I've just put my dimensions on here for me, okay? 8.5, 2.2 deep, 4.6 down the side. All right, a ribbon is placed around each face of the box and meets all the edges of the boxes. A bow is tied on top, okay? The bow is made using 18 centimeters, but what we don't know is how much of the ribbon is used. Calculate the total length of the ribbon required, okay? So the bow is made using 18 centimeters. So we know all of this is 18 centimeters used, but now what we need to do is find out how much is used to go across, and then underneath, up, this side and this side. So what I'm going to do is duplicate all of those. So I'm going to do 2.5 times 8.5, sorry, 8.5 times 2, 4.6 times 2, and 2.2 times 4, because I know that this bit here is going to be one here, one at the back, and one over there. Then I'm going to add all them up, and I'm also going to add on the 18 at the end, because the 18 is also the bow on top, and eventually it will give me the answer of 53 centimeters. Okay. Next one. A different box is to be decorated with a ribbon L in the same way. The box has length L, width W, and height H. The bow is made of 18. Write down an expression. So basically, how do we just work this out here? I'm now going to replace 8.5, 4.6, 2.2 with the letters L, W, and H. So I know there was 2 L's, I know there was 2 H's, I knew there was 4 heights. Okay, because we wrote that there. There was 1, 2, 3, 4. And then obviously we got to add the 18 on after. All right, so if you've written 2 times L, 2 times W, that's fine as well. But the most simplified version would be that there. Okay, so it's how you calculate, how you would find it, but this time you haven't got numbers to help you. Okay, classic one this. You want to go from Wales to Poland. Before going, you're going to change some money. Okay, so that just sets the scene. That top sentence, we'll get rid of him. Okay, you only have 250 to spend. Unfortunately, the money exchange shop only has 50 notes. So that means it can only give you notes which are worth 50. So they can give you 50, 100, 150, 250, etc. But they can't give you anything smaller. So what am I going to do to find out how much you pay for the zloty? Well, the first thing you would do is 250 times by the exchange rate. So 250 times by the exchange rate is 1,092.5 zloty. But they cannot give you that. They can't give you the 92.5. They can only give you 50s. So you can't round this up to 2,000 because you've only got 250 to spend. So you've got to knock this down. That to the nearest 50 would be there, 1,050 zloty. Okay, so that's going to get you your third mark, 3 marks already just for there. So you could have got 2 just for multiplying. Then what am I going to do? Well, I've got to find out what that is in pounds now. So to change it back to pounds, I've got to divide by the exchange rate. Okay, so I'm going to do the zloty divided by 4.37, which is what I've written here, and that would give me the answer of 240.27. So £240, 27 pence, 5 marks in total. Okay, next one. While in Poland, Lech spent 340 of the zloty. On returning to Wales from his holiday, Lech changes zloty back to pounds. Unfortunately, the money exchange shop would only buy back a whole number. The exchange rate used for the exchange in the zloty is £1 equals 4.43. Calculates how much you received from the money exchange shop. So if you've spent 340, but 1,050 is what you had in the previous question, you've got to find out what we've got left. So 1,050 take away 340 gives me 709.6. But as we just said, they'll only buy back a whole number of zloty. So the 709.6 they're not going to accept, but the 709 they will. They won't take the 0.6 off you. That's just some loose change, which you've got to keep. How am I going to change this now back? Well, 709 divided by this new exchange rate of 4.43, slightly higher, is going to give me an answer of £160.05. Okay, so for your third mark is for noticing you've got to divide by this new exchange rate, and it's going to give you that answer of £160, 5p. Okay, hopefully for this you've realised it's compound interest. Sabrina knows that she will be paid in 2 weeks' time. She decides to borrow £400 for a period of 2 weeks. But it says it costs 1% per day compound interest. So you've got to remember the method for this. So they've written a funky method here, but what I'd rather do is show you how they got it. So if it's 1% interest per day, I've got to start by adding the 1%, which gives me 101%. I'm then going to change 101% to 101 over 100. Okay? 101 over 100, because that is how I would increase a number using a calculator by 1%. Now, where did this 14 come from? Well, if I multiply the £400 now by this, it would add it on straight away for me. But then once I had that answer, I then have to use that and times by the same thing again, and then I times by this again, and then I times by this again. I have to do that 14 times because there's 14 days in 2 weeks. So the easiest way to do it is to just multiply by 400, but I need to raise this to the power of 14 because this means multiply this by itself 14 times rather than having 14 lines of workings. Once I've done that, it will give me the answer of above of £459.79. Okay, 2 marks for your workings, 1 especially for showing to the power of 14. Final answer then there. All right, guys. For this one, it's a little bit confusing. For how many homes would the wind farm been able to produce electricity each year if it had worked at full capacity? What you need to realise is 35% equals 50,000 homes, because that's what it says. It's working at 35% of its capacity. So 35% equals 50,000 homes, and we need to get that back up to 100, because percent is out of 100. Easiest way to do it is to divide by 35, because if I divide by 35, that will tell me what 1% is. And now I know what 1% is. Obviously use your calculator. It'd be 1,428.57 homes. To get this back to 100 now, I would just multiply by 100 to get me back up there. Okay? So at full capacity, it should provide enough electricity for that many homes, 142,857. Classic error there is a lot of you would have found 35% of 50,000, okay? Okay, guys, for this question here then, it says, I've got a bit of data in this table which tells you how much power one turbine will do in each place, and then how many there are there. And it wants you to find out if each of these 4 wind farms worked at 45%, what would be the mean power of the single wind turbine. So all I'm going to start by doing is finding out the mean, guys. And how do you find the mean from a table? Well, if you've got 30 turbines producing this much, it's easier to do 30 times 2. For this one, I got 54 producing 3.5, so I'm just going to multiply them. I'd have another 25 producing 3.6, I'd have another 60 producing 3. Once I have all them answers, so it's very similar to estimating the mean. Once I have all these answers, I'll add all these answers up. So this is all of my workings effectively in one below. It's just a neater way of writing it potentially, but I know what a lot of you will do is make a table on the outside, write your answers in here, then add them up. Okay, why am I dividing by 169? Well, because there's 169 different turbines. Okay, so eventually, whichever way you've done it, it's going to get you the answer of 3.07. So that's going to get you 3 out of the 5 marks, 3.07. Okay, but the question said, if each of these 4 wind farms worked at 45%, what would be the mean power? So this is working at full 100%. I need to find 45%. And 45% of a number, you could just do 45 of 100 times by that. And how much will they produce? What would the average production be? 1.38. Okay, check my workings though. Use a calculator because I might have typed it in wrong. All right then, guys, it gives you some information now in a frequency diagram, and it's asking you to complete the cumulative frequency. So if you just look at all these times, 2.55, 7.510, all of it, it's actually going up, as you can see, pretty much in 2.5s. So, well, it is. So it's saying how many, frequency is how many by here. So how many were between, we'll just hide them for now. How many were between 2.5 minutes or less? Well, as you can see, nothing was plotted, so that's why it's 0. This one here is going to be between 2.5 and 5. So how many is between there? Well, 5. But be careful now. 7.5 goes to here. You'll be really careful. We know this goes up to 20, but this means everything less than. So that's these 20 and these 5, which is actually 25, not 20. Got to add it on, guys. Next one, 10. So here we've got the answer of 21, 22, 23, 24. So now I've got to add 24 to 20 and 25, which is going to give me 49. Similarly here, it's 31, 32, 33, 34. So now I've got to add the 34 to this, can take me up to 83. Then the next 15, by here I've got exactly 30, so I need to add 30 to my previous answer, which is 113. And then the last one, I've got 6 there. So that's a lie, 7. So I add the 7, this takes me up to 120, okay? 2 marks there for that. All right, next question. The graph paper opposite, so I'll get that up for you, shows a cumulative frequency diagram of the times taken by 140 visitors. On the same graph, draw this new one. So there's one already there for you. All I've done is using these, 2.50, 5, 7.5, 25 is plot it, and as you can see, I've plotted it there. Okay, slightly different journey, and that's all I've got to do there for 2 marks. Then the next question, it says, and I'm hoping you would want to do this anyway. The visitors had been set a target that 100 of the group would finish within 17.5 minutes. By how many minutes did they miss or beat their target? So this is the visitors, okay? So we need to go to 100 across until we hit them and come down. So 15 minutes, but it says how many minutes did they miss or beat their target by? Well, the target was obviously 17.5 minutes. 15 minutes, so they beat it by 2.5. Okay, quite a nice question that. And the next one, true or false? I know we like these. The 10th percentile reading for the local people is between 5 minutes and 7 minutes. So local people is the one we've drawn. 10th percentile is just 10%, so that's 14 people roughly. Okay, it's just here and down is between 5 and 7. So is it between 5 and 7? Well, yeah, I'm happy with that. That's true. 40% of the visitors, so now we're looking at the black one, to less than 12.5 minutes. So if I went to 12.5, or if you found 40% of 140, which you could also do, 12.5 minutes is going to be obviously here, up and across. That's smack on 40. So 40 people out of 140, that's false, okay? Next one, the estimated median time for the visitors. So for the median, you've got to go half of 140, which is 70. So half of 140, 70, across, down. We're looking at visitors, so it's the black line. Across, down is by there, which is 12.5, in between 12.5 and 15. So the estimated median time, is that going to be 13.75? Well, I'm happy with that, that's true, because it is pretty much in between 12.5 and 15. The difference between the estimated median times of the two groups is about 3 minutes. So the median is obviously at 70, which is here and here. So basically, what is the difference between these two? Is it pretty much, the difference is 3 minutes. Is it pretty much 3 minutes difference between there and there? Well, that would be at roughly 11.5. That would be at roughly 13. So that's is, you know, difference between roughly 11. I can see why you'd go false, but I've gone with true. And then the last one, if there had been only 120 visitors, they would certainly all have finished within 18 minutes. So if there had only been 120, I'm going to go to 120 visitors and up and down. Is that going to be below 18? Well, it is below 18. This question here says they would certainly all have been within the 18 minutes. You don't know because you don't know the exact times, which is why I've gone with false. All right then, nearly there, guys. For this question here, it says that you've got the dog kennel outside. Just by looking at it though, what could this trigger? If you see, I know you can't maybe see a triangle, but I can see one there. And if I know I'm finding an angle and I've got no other angles, just lengths, it's probably going to be SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so Luca's marked the angle of elevation, diagram X. Calculate the size of the angle of X. Right then, so what I'm going to do here is start by drawing my triangle. So this triangle here, X, where have I got 50 from? Well, if you look at your diagram, from there to there is 150, from there to there is 100, so that bit there has to be 50. If all of that's 110, that bit there has got to be 55. So that's where my two numbers have come from. Okay, now they've shot forward here with our answers and eventually got the answer of 42.3. But all I'm going to do is just go over the workings a little bit slower. This is the opposite. This is the adjacent. We don't need the hypotenuse. So if you write down the word SOHCAHTOA, so this is how I've been teaching you to do it. SOHCAHTOA. Cross off H there, you don't need it, so you cross off H here and here, which is why we're left with TOA. Okay, then if we're trying to find the angle, we scribble out the T, but we can't forget that T stands for tan minus 1, and then O over A means whatever our opposite length was, which was 50, divided by our adjacent, which is 55. Hence why I've got 50 over 55 there. Your final answer 42.3. 5 marks in total, guys. So if you've got this triangle, you've labelled these, you're picking up marks anyway. Obviously for noticing it's tan, you're picking up marks. Okay, you're going to get a 3rd mark then for trying to substitute into the formula. And you have 2 final marks for rounding it to an appropriate degree of accuracy, 42.3 degrees. Explain why in practice this angle may not be as accurate as you have calculated, because we don't know if the initial measurements in this diagram are going to be accurate anyway, so we've just used estimates, okay? All right, last but certainly not the least, the length of the flag is twice the width, okay? The length of the flag is twice the width. The diagonal of the flag measures 2.5. Okay, you can't quite see it there, but that bit there is 2.5. And what we know is the length of the flag, so that's this bit here, is twice the width. So that means this is 2x and this is x. Okay, so it's actually, it is Pythag, but it's quite a tricky one. They've just drawn it the other way around here. If you've noticed this, 2x, so you've written 2 times and then the same letter there, you're going to get a mark. But now it's actually a bit of algebra, which is a bit harsh, okay? So How would we find Pythag? Well, we know we'd square the two sides. We know the two smaller sides squared add up to the longest side squared. So that's why I've written x squared here and 2x squared here. And they've got to add to 2.5 squared. So x squared plus this simplifies, you've got to square the 2. 2 times 2. And then obviously the squared there, so that's 4x. So x squared plus 4x equals 2.5. I'm now going to square the 2.5. Make it a bit easier. Okay, they haven't, but I would have. Okay, to make it a bit easier, I would have squared the 2.5. Where's my 5x squared come from? Here, because x squared plus 4x squared is 5x squared. Effectively, there's a 1 in front of it. 5x squared equals 2.5 squared, or I'll tell you what I will do, is I will square that now, just to make it a bit easier. So 2.5 squared is going to give me the answer, that's 2.6. The answer of 6.25, make it a bit easier for you. So 5 times something squared is 6.25. So that's why they've written divide by 5 now. Okay, solving equations. So if I divide that by 5, I'll make it a bit simpler for us. So 6.25 divided by 5 gives me the answer of 1.25. So something squared is 1.25. And how do you find out what you square to get to 1.25? Well, you just square root. Okay, and the square root of that, this is really tricky, guys, so I'll be impressed if you've got it. It's 1.118. Again, you can round it to whatever you want, but in terms of meters, I would round that to 1.12 meters or 1.1. Okay, really tricky because it was forming and solving an equation.